In this video, I'll give you some insights about what we have made of changes in the Figaf tool to make it easier for you to manage your SAP integration. So the first thing is, in your API management, you have this endpoints where you can define different endpoints. The challenge is, how do you make changes to it once you're transporting the Iflow? So we have added a new functionality that obviously allows you to transport this. You will define it, which landscape it needs to go in. You can define which Jira service now ticket that this is assigned to. And this is how all our transport makes. We can start the transport of this object, and we can now open the transport here. And here we now have the option to configure endpoint differently in the different system. And we can obviously change these to a lot of different URLs. If we want to, or change it to different attributes. It's probably not really recommended to change the between different endpoints ID, but it is an option, and here it uses the same system, and that's the reason we needed to use this, and we could not just use the provider ID. So press save here. We can set to approval. I have also access to approve it. As an approver, I can use this div to HTML to see what was changed between these two things, what it expects to see of changes, and we can see also who made changes to the Iflow, and I think the Swagger also shows we added some comments here. So here you have a div of what's being applied to the different systems. We can then import this, approve it, and now we can start the import on the QA system. We are reusing the same system as QA, which means we are adding pre and post fixes to it. And with that, it's pretty easy to open it. I think that's also one of the new features we have added. Pretty simple. And here we have the target endpoint, and we can see it now affects the data that we got from our. One of the features we have here is in the model, we can look at the payload and we can download it as SVD file, which is a BPMN format that is formatted in a text document. And what you can do with this is you can actually take it into your existing documents, documentation, to use it as a way to document what was actually going on. We also have another feature which allow you to create a scenario documentation, and this is, I think I have it open here already. So here we have the scenario documentation, and you can see here the full history of this. You can see what kind of connections is defined in it. You can see which test cases we have for it, which kind of flows exist in it, what configuration exists in the full landscape, your dev, QA, production tenant, what has been set up for each system, and then you have what are the resources involved in this. And one other thing we have added is the ability for you to compare message mappings, and what we have here is we have a download comparison message mapping report, and once you download this will give you all the message mappings inside of these Iflows, and here you can see the report of it. Here you can see we got 2 mappings into it, the full name of them, what are the parameters, and it is really easy to see what was actually changed in these 2 cases. So you can find the location of the mappings that has been changed, and that when you're approving a transport, it makes it a lot easier for you to manage these things. The last feature we have added is a big one, and we have started on this, and the idea here is that you would define an Iflow that you want to process data on. It obviously needs to be something that you have run on, and once you have done that, you can specify you want to use a specific persistence period, or is the agent's persistency period that counts. Do we download attachment, persistent messages, and message processing logs? And for these Iflows, I've configured it, and that means I can go into my model here and I can look at all the different payloads. We can look at the incoming message, the final message, and all these kind of data that we have downloaded, and you only need to set this, and then you have these persisted in the Figaf tool. This also works for PI, where you can also add agents, and here you can also add communication channels. It will then add modules, and here you can see the messages, and you have then the option to see the metadata or the message that has been downloaded at a specific point in time. And this makes it a lot easier for you to fetch older messages. So now this is done. Now we can persist the messages. The next feature of release of it, we will enable you to search for payload. So you can search for order number, you can search for customer ID, making it easier for you to actually see what has been sent in your EDI messages. I hope this has been interesting. You want to check out more about the Figaf tool, there's a 30-minute getting started guide to help you get started with the tool and see how it works. You can find it at figaf.com/just 30 minutes. So go check it out, go try the tool, and if you have any questions, ping me.